That was part 1 of Naruto's story with the female Kyuubi and his powerful harem. If you enjoyed this tale, please like, share, and subscribe to Fox Fan Fiction for more epic what-if stories. Your support means the world. Chapter 1. Enter Naruto. Naruto had just finished beating up Mizuki and was asleep in his bed. He opened his eyes and he's standing in a sewer. In front of him was a large cage. He hears some crying within it. He walks over and steps through the bars. He sees a beautiful woman on the ground crying. He walked over, knelt down and started to rub her back. He saw Kyuki do this to Ayame when her ex broke up with her. The woman latched onto him and hugged him, burying her face in his chest. He wrapped his arms around her. Naruto-kun, she sobbed. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. They hate you. Please, if there's anything you need, ask me. I'm sorry, she cried. Then he realized she was the Kyuubi, the one who was sealed in him and ruined his life. He should hate her, he thought. But every time he looked into her brown orbs, his heart melted. How could this woman hurt all those people on purpose? He had to ask. But right now he just wanted to hold on and comfort her. Kyu-chan, I forgive you. It wasn't your fault. Please stop crying. You're making me sad to see you cry, he said. Naruto-kun. She wiped her tears and held on tighter. I will tell you of the reason why I attacked the village. You deserve to know, she said. You don't have to. I need to. And you want to know, she said, then took a deep breath to calm herself. Those 14 years ago, I was sealed in your mother. When she was having you, the seal was weakened considerably, so a man named Tobi came and broke the seal. He took me and used his Sharingan to control me like Madara Uchiha did long ago. He nodded. He then made me attack the village, the 4th Hokage, then to spare my life. As he knew it wasn't my fault, he sealed me back into you. I have some questions. And I have answers. I don't know who Tobi is and how he has the Sharingan. Your mother's name was Kushina and I do not know if she's alive or not. The reason why the 4th spared me was because he knew me and your mother, so he did not wish for me to die even though I would eventually be reincarnated. This is because only every 8 times I'm reincarnated I'm a guy and only the 9th I'm a girl. Why he chose you is because. She paused for effect then spoke. He is your father and he couldn't put that burden on anyone else's child. She saw surprise on all the other answers but the last one. Yeah, that was obvious. I look just like him. I put 2 and 2 together when Mizuki told me about you. She nodded. One more question though, how did dad know you? Well, you see, me and your mother, when she was bi-curious, kinda had a few times and she constantly spoke of it. Naruto blushed at that. Okay. Don't more, I just ate her out. She didn't do anything to me, she was too tired too, she said. Okay, he said. During this entire time Kyuubi was still in his arms. Can we get up now? He asked. She nodded and stood and he saw her in all her glory. Her brown eyes, long red hair going down to her lower back, her fox ears on her head, her creamy skin, large C-cup breasts and fox tail. She had the decency to cover her lower parts with one hand and her breasts with her arm. Don't stare at me like that, Naruto-kun, it makes me blush, she says. Sorry Kyu-chan, or just really beautiful. She was bright red. She noticed when Naruto first looked her over his eyes, then went back to her face staring into her eyes. Thanks Naruto-kun, she said. I wish you were out in the real world with me, then I would ask you out to ramen. He said. Thanks, she said. Shame that seal is way too high up there. She froze. He just without noticing it just said he would release her if he could reach the seal. I think you should wake up, you have to go to team assignment. He nodded. He then woke in his bed. He then thought for a moment what it would be like for Kyuubi to be there with him. He got an idea. He made a shadow clone just using her red chakra. In a puff of smoke she is sitting there in a compromising position. She had appeared with her legs slightly apart like she was leaning against the wall in her prison. In other words, he had full view of her lower part. She realized where she was and covered that area up and then herself with his bed sheets. Naruto-kun, she said, embarrassed he saw her down there. Sorry Kyu-chan, I was just trying to get you out here for a while and it seems to have worked. But where are your foxtail and ears? I like them a lot, he said, not knowing he was flirting with her. Thanks, but it's just a shadow clone. It will last a year or so since you used my potent chakra, but still our minds are linked. She paused. Naruto-kun, do you have some clothes? He nodded and gave her some clothes. She tried them on and liked them. Then she glared at Naruto. Naruto-kun, where did you get the panties? She asked him. A shopkeeper gave them to me instead of boxers like I asked. I never went there again, but I kept them just in case. In case of what? In case they were needed, and looks like they were. He says, and she nods, the glare gone. Thanks Naruto-kun. She was in a t-shirt, shorts and underneath crimson red panties. Wait, are you different? She looks at herself and she realized she looked like a 14-year-old. Her breasts were now small C's. And she was shorter, only a little taller than Naruto. It looks like. When he headed off to the academy, she walked down there with him. She told him that she could still see everything he could, and she could talk to him through his mind as they had a connection. After they got there, she hugged him goodbye and walked home. He went into the classroom and planned to sit next to Sakura when Kyuubi's deafening voice rang through his head. Don't you think about sitting next to her. She will just be mean like always. And hit you. Sit by the girl that's blushing at you right now. Hinata. He asks her. Yes. She likes you. So pay attention to her. Not that banshee. She's not a banshee. When has she not been? He thought about it. Damn it, you're right, she is one. Good, now sit next to Hinata. It will make her day. Maybe you can even ask her out on a date. She's super cute with that blush. Go on, Naruto. Naruto went over and asked Hinata if he could sit next to her. Hinata-chan, do you mind if I sit here? She blushed a deep red. Not at all, Naruto-kun, she stuttered. Thanks, Hinata-chan, you know you're really cute with that blush. She fainted, but Naruto caught her and rested her on his lap. When she rewaked with Naruto brushing her face and smiling at her, she was too shocked to faint. Feeling better, Hinata-chan? He asks. She nods and sits up. Haruka then comes in with a now different pile of team assignments he got at last minute. Team 9 is Hinata Hyuga, Naruto Uzumaki and Katsu Sakuku. Hinata was happy, she almost squealed like a fangirl for being on Naruto's team. Your Jonin-sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi. Well, this should be fun. The two turned to see Katsu. He had a black jacket and a black t-shirt and black Anbu-style pants. Naruto, Hinata, I don't think we were ever introduced. I am Katsu, master of deception and tactician. Their sensei was the first to arrive. They had a simple survival test. They passed easily. They then started to train. Kurenai was looking at their skills, and Katsu lived up to his master at deception title, because he was proficient at ninjutsu and genjutsu and mixed the two together, so the opponent didn't know what to expect, whether the insane flaming phoenix was a genjutsu or just him showing off with a fire technique. Hinata was adept in her own family's gentle fist but needed a lot more training. Naruto, well, he had shitty taijutsu, no genjutsu, barely knew how to use weapons properly. The only thing that was going for him was his chakra reserves and the amount of shadow clones he makes with it. They had to work on that a lot. But despite all that, the three seemed to sink in teamwork. Katsu would cast a simple genjutsu and Naruto would charge in the clones, and Katsu would be overhead when they released the jutsu and send a fire jutsu at them. Then Hinata, who they were moving the opponent into position to, would use the gentle fist to seal off the chakra points and then retreat, while Naruto and the remainder of his clones would charge in, taking them down in numbers while Katsu and Hinata provided support. After that day, Naruto went back to his house. He opened the door and his mouth was wide open. The house was clean. Kyuubi must have cleaned all day. He was happy she was settling in well. He walks over to his bedroom to find Kyuubi there on his bed, and she was reading a magazine called Hottest Kaneki in the Ninja World. It was his magazine he had under his mattress. He only thought one thing. Oh shit. She glances at him without lowering the magazine. Hello Naruto-kun, interesting collection you got here. She pointed to a stack of other dirty magazines that he had hidden at other various places. Q-chan, it's not what you think I was. Being a teenager. He was caught off guard. I love these magazines, especially this other one I found. She put that one down and picked up one beside her that on the cover said, Hottest Demons, and below was a picture of herself and a number 1 next to it. What's ironic is these specific magazine was made here. And I have to talk to them about where they got that picture. They must have dug through Kushina's things. So you're not mad? Of course not. You aren't looking at these anymore if I have a say in it, but no. Wait, you just said you weren't mad, so why can't I look at them? He asks. Because you baka. She hits him on the head and she stands up, pulling the t-shirt she was wearing down. He just noticed that was all she was wearing. You can feel free to look at me in outfits anytime. And I'm sure once Hinata builds up the courage to ask to have you take her virginity, then you won't have a problem and just stare at her. He blushed. She isn't like that. He sputters. He sits on the bed and laid back. True, she isn't, but I am. He was now in his mindscape and was getting a blowjob from the now normal for her looking Kyuubi. Q-chan, he says as she bobs her head up and down. I'm gonna. He comes in her mouth and she drinks it up and he moans and she lets him out with a wet plop. That was a good treat, Naruto-kun. She snuggled on top of him and the two went to sleep in each other's embrace. Chapter 2, The Waven Rivals. Naruto was confused on what happened last night as the Kyuubi was on top of him. He wasn't sure why she did that and Kyuubi wasn't either. He stroked her head, smiling at her sleeping form. She looked so cute like this compared to her form inside his mind that no matter what looked. She growls in approval as he wraps his arms around her. Her eyes slowly drift open and look at him. She smiles and moves up and kisses him. She looks away with a blush. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, I was too forward the other night. She said shamefully, while she was arguing with herself on the inside. You acted like a slut. Degrading yourself by sucking on that. Get away from the pervert. Go girl. He tasted good. Go and get seconds. Girls please, you're pressuring me. She had conflicting emotions on her face but didn't make a move to get seconds or get off him. Don't worry about it, Q-chan, I really enjoyed it. But maybe we should go on a few dates before we do it again. FemKyuubi-chan. He uttered each part of her name one at a time, which made her blush heavily. Hi Naruto-kun, maybe we can go to the hot springs after your ninja duties. I think it's mixed bathing today. She blushed, as did he. Sure, anything for you, Q-chan. He then tilts her chin up and kisses her. She then gets up. I'll make you a good breakfast, Naruto-kun. She said and went to it, after slipping some panties on under her t-shirt. Naruto then got up and opened his closet and a huge smile spread across his face. Kyuubi had got him new clothes that weren't orange. He put them on and walked out when smelled food was done. Kyuubi looks back at him and gets a small nosebleed and a blush. He was wearing black Anbu pants, black shinobi sandals, a black sleeveless shirt that showed his surprisingly toned muscles, his headband on his forehead and fingerless gloves. She took a few moments to admire the view and wonder how she did not see the muscles before. She then snapped out of it and served up some omelets and fish, which he ate quickly. Thanks, Q-chan, he shouts. I gotta go. Thanks for breakfast. He ran out the door. She sighed. Naruto-kun. His training and missions went by fast and he rushed home to go with Kyuubi to the hot springs. They went straight there and then it got depressing. The sign out front said that the mixed bathing ended an hour ago. I'm sorry, Kyuubi, it's because I was training too long. We are still going in. And you're bathing with me still too. He arched an eyebrow and she whispered something in his ear and he blushed and nodded. A few minutes later Kyuubi entered the bath followed by a blushing Naruto in the jutsu. They sat in the bath and the two looked at the other woman as they entered the bath. They both blushed at the woman's naked bodies. They talked little, just enjoying the water and the view of the other women. Then Naruto nearly pulled a Hinata and fainted as said person entered and took off her towel to clean herself. He liked her curves and endowed chest. She then turned towards them and Naruto got a big surprise as she had cut her hair down in her lower regions to resemble his whisker marks. Then Hinata's eyes locked with his and recognized him through his eyes. She sat down immediately with her whole body red. She then moved over and sat next to him. Kyuubi smiled at her while again inside argued with herself. Don't you touch Naruto-kun, he's mine. Don't you let her beat Yugao and show Naruto your body. He will be in your hands in moments. Girls, I'm not going to do anything. Naruto likes Hinata. She held true to that thought as they inched closer together until their bodies were touching. The three of them stayed until all the others left and then Hinata turned her head to Naruto who turned her. They then connected in a kiss. Her lips are so soft. He thought then realized Kyuubi was right there. Oh shit. I'm practically cheating on her, right in front of her. He broke apart and turned to the Kyuubi and felt some pleasure go through his body. He then saw Kyuubi sucking on his jutsu's nipple. Q-chan, what are you doing? He looked at her hand and saw it was attached to Hinata's breast and was squeezing it. She detaches her mouth. I thought we were about to commence the mating ritual known as. Weren't we? No. The two say in unison. Then they got out of the bath and walked Hinata home, who was blushing about what could have happened. When they got to the compound with a nod from the Kyuubi, Naruto kissed Hinata goodbye. Then Kyuubi hugged Hinata and gave her but a small grab that made her yelp. "Bye," she said and rushed in the house. "I like her," Kyuubi declared as they walked back. She then grabbed Naruto's arm and rested her head on his shoulder. "I could tell from the number of times you groped her," he said. "I'm sorry that she has an irresistible body, she shouldn't hide it under that coat." "Yes, but do you want strangers to grope her too?" Point taken. When they got home they fell asleep in each other's arms. When they awoke, Kyuubi whispered into his ear, "You can have more than one of us," she said, and he arched an eyebrow. "Once we start to, you know." He nodded with a nosebleed. "Well, Uzumakis have huge amounts of endurance, so you would be hard to satisfy with just me alone." He nodded. "So what I am saying is you should get more girls in a relationship with us. We got Hinata, but we need to build her confidence up. Only if you're okay with it, and I will only get girls that love me." She nodded. "I have a few suggestions. I used to be mated with the Nibi and I heard her container right now is a genin. Since we were mates, her container, she will feel a natural attraction to you and will most likely see the loving qualities in you and fall in love." He nodded. "Okay, only if you're with me." She nodded. "But before we talk about this much, I guess we will first need to have," she said nervously. He blushed. "We will when you're ready to." She nodded, but on the inside she was shouting, "I'm ready now. So make love to me until I can't walk for a week. I'll do anything you want. Let's just have." "Thank you, Naruto-kun." The next day when he went out to do ninja stuff, she cleaned the place a few times and went out to grab some clothes. Naruto would be hers that night. She made a big pot of ramen and went and summoned a box of things in case things got kinky. She put on some black lace underwear and over it a maid outfit, made complete with white stockings. She also put her long red hair up into 2 pigtails. Then Naruto came in and she was kneeling in front of him. "Hello Naruto-kun, your dinner is served, ramen your favorite." He shook off the sight of Kyuubi in a skimpy French maid outfit and sat down. He ate his ramen. "Thanks Kyu-chan, you're the best." "Thank you Naruto-kun." She then grabbed his arm and brought him to the bedroom. She laid down on the bed. He stared at her. He had a good view up her skirt and her sopping wet slit. "Naruto-kun, I'm ready, please. Show me your love." He nodded and took off his clothes and went over and pulled off her underwear. He looked at her soaking wet slit. He smelled it, then licked it. Kyuubi moaned in approval. He took that as a sign to continue and started to eat her out. "Ah, Naruto-kun. Just like that. More. Move your tongue faster." She had drool coming from her mouth. And then he delved his tongue in her. "Naruto-kun. Yes. Your tongue is inside me." He then made her orgasm from that and he drank up her juices. He then pushed her skirt up more. He lined up to her. "Are you sure, Kyu-chan?" "Yes Naruto-kun. Please, I beg you." He nodded and slowly pushed into her. He surprisingly met her barrier. "You're my first guy Naruto, please be gentle." He nodded. He pushed past it and she winced in pain. "Naruto." She grabbed onto him. He let it sit there for a few moments and then she moved her hips, showing she was ready. He nodded and started to slowly pump into her. She moaned out. "Faster Naruto-kun, please, faster." She begged and he started to speed up his thrusts. Soon enough she was in bliss. Naruto was getting close, going at insane speeds. "Kyu-chan, I'm gonna. Inside me please," she begged. He nodded. It took a few more thrusts and then they came together. Kyuubi collapsed. She felt his essence in her sloshing around. "I love you Naruto-kun." The two then went to sleep. The two woke up feeling great. Kyuubi tried to get more out of him in the morning but said they took a risk the other night and he needed to get protection if they were to do it again, and that if they did have a kid he didn't want it to be accidental. She blushed at that statement. Then her mind wondered what her and Naruto's kids would look like and liked what she saw. He headed off to more ninja stuff. He found out he had a mission in the wave. He sent a clone to tell Kyuubi. The experiences her got back were quite lovely, as she gave him a goodbye blowjob. Naruto headed out with his teammates. Nothing really eventful happened except running into Zabuza. You know, the usual first C rank stuff for Naruto. Zabuza caught Kurenai in a trap and now she told them to run, but Katsu and Naruto, being arrogant as they were, charged in to show off. No tricks or genjutsu, just as strong attacks as possible. Katsu sent a fireball at Zabuza but he cancelled it with a water jutsu. Naruto came at him with clones. One made it through and grabbed onto him. "Bye bye, Katsu yelled and throws an explosive tag at him. Zabuza go boom. And to put it simply, he went boom. Wow, that was easy, Katsu said as Naruto was holding up an injured Kurenai. They then left the area and Haku comes out and starts to cry. She then decides since Naruto beat her master, he is now her master. She goes to find him. Naruto put Kurenai in bed to rest. She sat up, apparently was fine. Naruto, I would like to thank you for saving me, she said, and he nodded. No problem. But just then suddenly a girl in a pink kimono was in the room bowing to Naruto. Huh. Naruto-sama, I wait for your commands. I will do anything you ask. Even anything your girlfriends don't let you do. He felt himself stiffen at that. Who are you? I am Haku, the former servant to Zabuza. Since you defeated him, I am now your servant, laborer, maid, cook, protector and slave. He glanced at this girl's body while she was saying this, so he almost got a nosebleed. She was basically offering herself to him. Naruto, we will set this aside while we figure everything out with her. Okay, by the way, don't take advantage of her. I would never. Katsu was training in the forest. When he heard someone scream, he got up and ran to the noise. He saw Tsunami being chased by two thugs. It reminded him. Flashback. Katsu-kun, it isn't your fault that you weren't strong enough to save me, I understand. He shook his head. No. We can still save you, hold on. I won't let that bastard take you. They took everything, tortured me, experimented on me, then when he was done he had his men use me for their sick needs. But I don't care, because the entire time I was thinking of the one I love most. I was thinking of you. I didn't care of the boundaries. I love you, Katsu, and only you. He felt her die then in his arms. His ki spiked. I swear, on my own grave, I will kill you, you damn bastard, he yelled. Flashback end. His ki spiked to cage level and rushed the two. Wind style. Cyclone blades. He shouted and wind chakra appeared around his arms. He then slashed the two, killing them, and picked Tsunami up, who had fallen, and went to the house. This all happening in seconds. He was gone before the bodies hit the ground. It was a quick, painless death for them. I always hated pain, to anyone. When they got there, he put Tsunami down. She was blushing like a ripe tomato. Thank you, Katsu-kun, she said, blushing. Inside, her attitude was different. Don't let him let you go, girl. Hug him and never let him go. He's a hunk, don't let that get away. Did you feel the size of his package? Show him how a cougar does it. Her inner self giving this commentary is what mainly made her blush. The rest was that she indeed felt his package, and she had a bit of a thing for anyone who saved people's lives on a regular basis. No problem, I don't like what those guys were planning. He clenches a fist and she put her hand on his shoulder. He unclenches his hand. You have him. Now pounce. Make him relieve all that build up stress and repression. She was blushing up a storm, telling her inner self to shut up. He brushes some hair out of her face and puts his hand to her forehead. You feeling okay? He asks. She blushes crimson and panics. She slams her lips against his, with enough force that it knocked them into a sitting position against a tree. She detaches and looks like she disgusted with herself. Katsu was shocked and surprised. He wanted to kiss her back in that moment but couldn't. What would Mai say? He took a few seconds to think about it. Go Katsu. Go Katsu. Rock that cougar's world. Right, it was Mai. I'm sorry, that was way too forward and I'm too old and ugly for you, MMFF. He silenced her by a soft kiss. Don't call yourself ugly or old, he said, and started to kiss her with a passion. She moaned into the kiss as her body shivered. Katsu-kun, she moaned into his kiss. She made advances on him and they started to rock their respective worlds. Naruto heard the two and mutter about who was taken advantage of who. I don't mind if you take advantage of me, Naruto-kun. Slave is my personal favorite. She lied, she liked maid better because of the outfits, but slave was a close second. Then Hinata came into the room. Naruto-kun, I thought maybe since we went on that date we could. She froze, looking at Haku. Sleep together. She finished. She looked at the girl bowing at Naruto, then looked at him, then back. Oh, I see, you aren't interested anymore, she said, and was saddened and was about to walk out of the room when someone grabbed her arm and pulled her to Naruto's lap. You must be Naruto-sama's mistress. I am Haku, you can call me whatever you wish though, mistress, she said. Naruto then wrapped his arms around Hinata and brought them under the blankets. He looks at Haku just sitting there. Haku-san, aren't you going to bed with us too? He asks and she looks up at him with a blush. Hi Naruto-sama. She climbed in on the other side of Hinata. The rest of the mission went by smoothly, a few of Geitu's thugs here and there and Geitu himself who was promptly killed by the civilians. Then they headed back. When Naruto got to his apartment he was tackled by Kyuubi who squealed. Naruto-kun. She traced her finger around his muscles. Naruto-kun, did you remember to get protection? She asks in a sultry thick tone. No, wham, ah. He cried out. You knew I was horny but you didn't grab it. She yelled at him. You want there to be rumors all over the village? He asked, knowing the local shopkeeper who was the only one who would sell him the stuff he needed to live would spread rumors about this all over Konoha in a day. They don't know about me though. She retorted. Yes, but they see me with Hinata. Fine, I'll get them. She huffed. Wait, you're not a ninja so they won't give them to you. How will you get them? I have my ways. 10 minutes later she was back with a few boxes that would last them a while. Or at least she hoped. 3 hours later, Kyuubi finally had her fill of Naruto for one night and went to sleep with him. The next day Naruto was in trouble though. Their team met at the usual spot, when Kurenai came in with a red face from embarrassment and anger. Naruto Uzumaki, what did you do? She yelled, pointing her finger at him. There's rumors all over Konoha that I had with you, young man. She yelled and Naruto paled. Kyuubi, what did you do? He thought. According to the rumors I walked into a convenience store, bought 10 boxes of condoms and walk out saying Naruto was in for a long hard night and I hope this is enough to last. Her face was red and Naruto slapped his face realizing Kyuubi transformed into Kurenai and bought them and then thought out loud. Kurenai, you see I did not do that. He said with honesty while Kyuubi was whistling innocently in his mind. Of course not. He was not expecting this next part. Were you pressuring Hinata? Or Haku? She yells at him and Hinata faints. No, of course not. Thanks to this little stunt Anko told me that we were on a break till I decide who I love. She clasps her hand over her mouth at her slip up. But it was too late, in mere minutes it'd be the talk of the village. Katsu woke Hinata up. So Hinata, you hear that Kurenai lesbian? She faints again and Katsu gives an evil laugh. He turns to Kurenai. So I heard she has a bloodlust, tell me, did she make you bleed, Kurenai? What, no. She hasn't done that in mouths. She slipped up again and in minutes it was all over the village. This continued until it was over the village that Kurenai was lesbian, was a masochist, had a foot fetish, liked kunai insertions in the anal region and loved being tied up. It would be more but she just stopped answering Katsu. Round 1 goes to me. Well, didn't you and that older woman get together on the mission we were on? She shouts and all the guys look at the genin like he was a god. Round 2 goes to me. Oh me. I think Anko would like to do that. Here she was being mocked by her own student and she couldn't do anything about it because all of his information was head on and she didn't want him to reveal the kinkiest part of it. Moving on. She shouted with a red face while Katsu was still snickering. I called you here because I put your names forward for the Chunin exams. So if you decide to be a part of it, then meet at the academy in room 301. She then got out of there. Finally I'll be able to show everyone what I'm made of. Naruto shouted. Then Kono appeared and Naruto went off playing ninja with them with Hinata following behind. Well, I don't got anything better to do. Katsu said and followed them. When he saw them, a boy in a black jumpsuit and a cat-like cap on his head and makeup on was holding Kono. Well, hello twerp. I think I need to teach you a lesson. He said. Naruto threw a threat and Katsu didn't hesitate. He moved in a flash. There was a kunai at his throat. Drop him, puppet boy, he said. He obeyed and dropped him. Katsu need him, sending him flying. He smiled at his sister when he did this. You little. He took a mummy off his back. You going to use the crow for this? Temari shouted at him. We got time, and I have to teach these guys a lesson. Kankuro then found himself in the air. Naruto had snuck up on him. Then Katsu jumped into the air and knocked him to the ground with a kick to the gut. While he was getting up, a voice sounded. Kankuro, you're a disgrace to our village. Everyone looked to see a girl with red hair and 2 pigtails. She was wearing a short skirt and tank top with a gourd on her back. She jumped down and when Kankuro picked him up of the ground. Let's go, Oni-chan, fool. Katsu snickered at her, calling the puppet boy. When they were a distance away, Kankuro turned around and shouted. I won't go easy next time. He shouted. Just remember next time not to get into your sister's makeup. He shouted back and Kenkuro's jaw dropped and his sisters thought about how some of their makeup was disappearing. They glare at him. By the way, ladies. I'm Katsu, this is Naruto and Hinata. The girls turn. I'm Gaara. I'm Temari. He smirked and then Team 9 left. Chapter 3, The Snake vs. the Demon. Naruto went into his house and again Kyuubi leapt on him. Hello Naruto-kun, she said, already grinding herself against him. Q-chan. Stop it, he said, but she ignored him and continued. She then took her shirt off. I can't help it Naruto-kun, you always make me feel so good that I've become addicted. She shouted. Q-chan, I have something I need to tell you. It's important, he said. She sighed, then stopped the grinding and laid down on top of him, resting her head on his chest. What is it Naruto-kun? She asked, settling on him. I'm going to take the Chunin exams tomorrow. She immediately glares at him. And you didn't think to discuss this with me? She said with anger. You and I both know that you make me feel too good for me to let you go that easily. She shouted. But I need to become a Chunin. Then we need to solve this issue. He confused. We are going to have rough, hard from now to morning, enough to satisfy me. I feel like I should be proud of someone. Katsu said but shook it off. He continued down a street to his training grounds. He had a feeling that soon he will come face to face with him, so he needed to be ready and able to control it. He was far from Konoha now by several miles. He sat down and started to meditate. He would be prepared to kill him by tomorrow morning. Naruto and the rest of Team 9 were at the academy. It seemed people were holding up the door. Katsu told the other two of the genjutsu. They decided to go the direct way to get the MTO, knock it off, beat the shit out of them. As if on cue one of them knocks a girl down. Please, we must get in there. She says. The Chunin exams are much tougher than this, we are doing you a favor. Fragile little girls and weaklings don't belong here. Then Katsu decided to make themselves known. The only weaklings I see here are you two. They turned to Team 9. Oh, I know you're the supposed genjutsu user that is actually decent in combat, but the way I see it, if you use that, you're weak. Naruto shook his head and Katsu appeared between them and knocked the two's heads together. This knocked them out and revealed the genjutsu they put up. Let's go Naruto, Hinata. He said, and they started to walk off, but were stopped by a voice. You there. What's your name? He turns to see Neji and Lee, who was still trying to figure out he was so fast. Katsu, this is Naruto and you know Hinata. Well, I look forward to defeating you. It's not me you should be worrying about. Then a clone of Naruto was behind him with a kunai to his throat. I see. Then the clone dispelled and they walked away. Naruto looked at the girl with them and flashed a smile before they left. Nice choice Naruto-kun, she, if you get her, would be quite pleasurable. Whatever. Seriously though, she, if that blush likes you. You're not going to stop talking about this, are you? They then enter the room and are greeted by glares. They are then greeted by the rest of the rookie 9. Shika, Ino, Choji and Kiba, Shino and Sakura. Hey, why isn't Sasuke-kun with you? Sakura rants. Simple, he didn't pass the second test. Katsu said bluntly. What? No way. She screamed. He didn't pass because he is a arrogant, emo, bastard. He said. How dare you insult Sasuke-kun? She shouted. She then attempted to punch him, when he threw a kunai that cut her cheek. Fair warning, we aren't the same people you knew in the academy, they pale in comparison. He said. You have drawn quite the amount of attention to yourselves. They look and notice the small amount of ki coming from the genin. The speaker was a genin with white hair. Naruto, think you can make these guys piss themselves? He nodded. Hey, Q-chan, you think you can shove enough ki to make these guys piss themselves? Naruto asked Kyuubi. I can give you enough to make them run away screaming in agony. The wetting themselves is fine. I'll give you enough to make the guys wet themselves, but I have something else for the girls. What was that? Nothing. He then poured out the ki, making all the guys in the room need a change of pants. Gaara and Temari, who were sending out ki, were now panting heavily with soaked panties in their juices, as were every other girl in the area where he sent the ki out. Now they were looking at him with lust. Q-chan, what did you do? Oh, nothing really, just made it so all the guys pissed themselves and the girls had an orgasm from the ki, and from the looks of things it went well. She giggled. Now we will have a bunch of other girls too, group. Naruto's sweat dropped. Then his mouth dropped. He forgot that in front of him were some of the rookie 9. Specifically Shika, Ino, Hinata and even Sakura. Now the girls were looking at him with lust, having probably experienced their first orgasm. By the way, Shikamaru is a girl in this story. Enjoy. He gauged their reactions. Shika in her short skirt and fishnet shirt and vest, was holding her legs together trying to keep the juices from being noticeable. Ino in a purple sleeveless shirt and a purple skirt and bandages going from the thighs down was trying to cover the damp spot in the bandages but failing. Hinata too had her legs pressed together, the only thing different was the large blush on her face. Sakura in her red Chinese-style dress with tight ninja shorts practically had her hands down her shorts and another holding her small breasts. He then looked at the girls around the room to see their reactions. Gaara was sitting down with a deep red blush which confused the hell out of the puppet boy. Temari was right next to her sister, her legs crossed. He then looks to the sound genin who were on the ground except one who had on a gray-brown vest-like shirt and gray pants with a snake design on them and a gray and black scarf. Her hair was long black hair that was tied at the end by a red ribbon. She herself looked like she was trying not to masturbate. He sees a cloud ninja who had a gray Anbu-like armor on and Anbu-style pants. She had her hair in a braided ponytail and had a deep blush on her face while she was zoning out. Kyuubi shouted in his head. That's her. That's Nibi-chan's container. In his mind she was drooling. Okay, I get it, he told her. Just claim her. Quick. Alright. Katsu was sweat dropping at the result of the KI. Naruto, good job and all, but did you really need to get every girl within 2 miles of that direction get release? Sorry about that. He scratched the back of his head. Moving on, now you were saying. He turned to Kabuto. Yes, you were making a entry, you know what, never mind. Then it seemed that the sound ninja didn't like the impression made by them and charged. They were met by chakra points being sealed by Hinata. Then by some ass kicking from Naruto and Katsu. Sorry, I'm bad at fight scenes. Then a man burst into the room. Listen up. Now, why does it smell like piss in here? Sorry, our fault, we made everyone piss themselves. Naruto said. Okay. Ibiki said. They walk into the test room and sit down at separate seats. Katsu pulled a book out after Ibiki finished telling them the rules. Hey, what are you doing with that book? One of the proctors shouted. Oh, this is just a list of Ibiki's Chunin exams test plans. It seems this one is the 10th question that all you need to do is answer. Suddenly Ibiki had his hand over his mouth. Where did you get that? I bribed Anko with Dango. Damn her. So my team pass or I start making the contents of this book common knowledge. He smirked. I hate you. I know. The 3 passed, but they still had to answer the 10th question first, and they went on with the remaining genin to the next stage. Then a window broke and a sign came up in front of Ibiki. She looks around and spots Naruto and glares at Ibiki. Ibiki, are you going soft? The squad I asked you to make sure don't get through got through. They blackmailed me after you gave them a book on the exams. She looked at Katsu. Hello Katsu, she said with cheer. How the hunt going? Nearly got him, but need to get this out of the way before I can take him. Good. She gave a sadist smile to everyone. Now follow me, she shouted. He read the sign quick. Wild, crazy, single snake mistress of Konoha. Wow, Naruto really did a number on that stunt. At the ground she raised her hand at the forest. This is the forest of death, she said, giving everyone a sadistic smile again. Here you now have a small percentage of surviving to get to the tower. Seems like fun, Katsu said. Yeah, shouldn't be tough after the last mission, right Naru? Hinata, who was adding her bit, was cut off by a kunai shallowly cutting her cheek. Then Anko had her arms around her and a kunai at her neck. She slowly unzipped Hinata's thick wool jacket and stroked her large B-cup breast. Giant snakes, insects, poisonous plants, and filled with other ninja trying to kill you. You still think it won't be tough? Are you scared now? She mumbled something. What was that? She pinched her nipple through her shirt. To be hun, honest, I'm a bit turned on. She stuttered with a deep blush. Almost all the guys were shot back with a nosebleed. Anko let her go but took her burly coat and quickly hid it off her, leaving her in her black sleeveless shirt showing her early development. That's my favorite coat, Hinata said with a blush at the stairs. She then felt a shiver go through her body as a breeze went by and she felt a coat on her shoulders and sees Naruto put his jacket there. Thank you Naruto-kun. He smiles at her. No problem. Later in the forest, Team 9 was looking around when they heard a noise. A giant wind blast headed right towards them, and Catus threw his teammates to the right side of it and he himself jumped over it. He is here, I know this chakra. Then a grass ninja came out straight towards Hinata. Hinata was scared, she felt their ki and was frozen. Naruto pulled her out of the way and kicked the grass ninja in the face, sending them flying. They get up her face in shreds, showing her identity of Orochimaru, the snake Sannin. Then Katsu landed in between them. Well, if it isn't the bastard, been looking for all this time and you come to me, the irony. Katsu said. Who are you, kuku? Katsu laughed, hard. That's funny. 4 years ago you kidnapped a young girl. You experimented on her, tortured her, and had your men use her body for themselves. He spat this with venom that it deserved. 3 weeks later, after you left, everyone was killed and the base destroyed. His ki spiked to cage level. That girl died in my arms. Her name was my younger sister. His ki then spiked above cage level, his head was facing the ground and he slowly raised it, white chakra around him. And you're dead. He looks up and his eyes were like that of both the Rinnegan and Sharingan, he had the eyes of the 10-tailed demon. Oh shit. He disappeared and grabbed his face and threw him into the ground, creating a huge crater. He charged and punched him, grabbed his huge snake tongue and tossed him around with it. He crashed into the ground and picked himself up, but then was met by several shadow clones which he dispelled, then had his chakra points sealed off by Hinata before he was picked up by Katsu and was back to being thrashed like a rag doll. He was against a tree now. Katsu went over to him, 10 tails of white chakra behind him, covered in white chakra himself. You shall feel all the pain you ever inflicted. He shouted and rushed, going through hand signs. He grabbed his head. Ancient forbidden technique. Soul strip jutsu. He went through him, grabbing his soul. Now, soul decimation jutsu. He threw his soul and it seemed to turn orange and red before it burned up. He looks at the body and then sits on the ground and smiles. It seems it's over. He looks up at the sky. I love you too, Mai. He sighed. I wish I told you that before you died. Hinata and Naruto approach him and see a curious sight. There he was sitting cross-legged, white chakra gone and the eyes back to normal. Nothing wrong there, but what was that there was a girl with long brown hair in a blue kimono bonking her 2 fists on his head repeatedly, one after the other. Katsu-kun, she whined in an angelic voice. You at peace now? I want to hang out with you more again. They sweat drop at her childish behavior. Do you hear me, Katsu-kun? She whined again. Yes, Keita, I hear you. She smiled. He wrapped her arms around his neck and nuzzled her face into him. Good. We can play again. She paused. But first you have to finish the exams, I want to see you win. She said with cheer. Katsu. Hinata tried but was ignored. Yes, we will have to finish exams. But what is my purpose now for being a ninja? She bonked his head again and he remained unfazed. To protect your friends, silly. It was surprising how she could get her angelic voice to also sound childish. Yes, that's admirable. Now your friends need an explanation. He glances at them and Keita let go of him as he walks over and sits again. I'll give you a quick explanation of what happened. Basically, I contain the 10-tailed demon. I don't know why or when it happened. And also I know the demon was sealed in the moon and divided up into 9 parts. I contain the yang half, which is the good half. Keita here is what it looks like in human form, is all the demons can do. The reason why she out here and still in me at the same time, I have no idea. He said, then got up. Katsu, I'm sorry about you having to hold a burden. Well, let's not dwell on it. Let's go. He said, and after getting the earth scroll they headed towards the tower. Team 9 then headed towards the tower, followed by Keita. Anko headed towards the area where Team 9 fought and saw Orochimaru's body. She gasped. The Anbu who came with her grabbed the body and carried it off. So you killed him, huh, Katsu? She smiled. This year will be interesting, but I suppose you deserve the bounty. Once they got to the tower they were the first ones there, big surprise. Following them were the Sand siblings, Shino's team, Shino, Kiba, Sakura, the Sound team, Yugito's team, Ino Shika Choi trio and Kabuto's team. They were called to the main hall. Congratulations on passing the second part of the exams. Genma said. Now we will have preliminaries for the final exams. Hinata vs Neji. Some of the fights I don't think are important, I will skip. Hinata fought hard but in the end Neji beat her bloody. Both Katsu and Naruto were on the floor. Katsu took a kunai and pointed it at Neji. The finals are now personal, you must realize whether you face me or Naruto, and for your sake hope it's Naruto, he said coldly. They then went back up after they saw Hinata off. So you going to kill him? Naruto asked. That is most likely. Alright. Temari vs. Tenten. The proctor called. Temari wins. I was really hoping for a catfight. Katsu said. Me too. Naruto agreed. Shika vs. Kin. Shika wins. Gaara vs. Lee. Gaara wins. To the ones that matter. Katsu vs. the guy with glowy hands. That's not my name. Like we care. Katsu went down as did Kabuto's teammate. Begin. The proctor shouted. Glowy hands charged with glowy hands. Katsu sighed and moved fast. He kicked him and sent him flying into a wall. He got up from it and spoke. You aren't tough. That was weak. Like that whore of a teammate of yours. He shouted. His ki spiked to cage levels. That was the worst possible thing to say. Naruto stated. You dare to insult her. He spat. Oh shit. He charged and one punch was all it took as he went into the ground near dead. Winner Katsu. Naruto vs. Kiba. He shouted. Naruto went down determined. Yahoo! Free pass. Kiba shouted. Begin. Fang over Fang. He shouted and he and Akamaru attacked. They aimed for Naruto. Naruto took a deep breath. I hope those training sessions pay off. Then they came. He deflected one off his hand, then grabbed the other, which was Kiba, by the neck and threw him away from him. He then made a few clones and attacked him, ending Kiba's chance to get to the finals. Winner Naruto. The rest are the same as canon. Naruto and Katsu went to check on Hinata and were glad to find she was okay. Katsu then left for training. Hinata looked at Naruto, who was sitting bedside. She blushed as an idea popped into her head. Naruto-kun, can you come into bed with me? She blushed at saying this. What? I'm sorry, forget it, she said and looked away. He cupped her cheek in his hand and moved her face back towards him. Tell me. Well, I'm trying to get to sleep and I think if I had someone sleeping with me I would go to sleep faster and She blushed crimson, but Naruto knew she wanted him closer. He got into the bed with her. She jumped feeling him get in. Naruto-kun, she said and grabbed onto him and buried her face in his chest. She went to sleep quickly after that and Naruto sighed as he wrapped his hands around her. No way was she letting him go until morning. Meanwhile, Katsu was trying to focus on meditating but was incredibly hard with Keita bonking his head repeatedly trying to get his attention. He was glad when she gave up on that. But then she wrapped her arms around him and pressed her breasts to the back of his head. Katsu-kun, she whined in that angelic voice of hers. What? He said, annoyed. I want to play, she said childishly. Knowing you, you'll just want to play catch. She pouted. I'm not little anymore like you. I want to play a different game. She sat on his lap and he raised an eyebrow. She leaned back, her back against his chest. I want to just sit here with you and look at the sky. She nearly jumped out of her skin when he wrapped his arms around her so his arms were around her stomach. She relaxed and just enjoyed it, enjoyed being in the embrace of the one she loved. Keita, her eyes widened at what she thought he was going to say. Keita, Chapter 4, Training kinda of. Keita, her heartbeat sped up, heat rushing to her face. Think I like you? Well, that was anticlimactic, she thought. Just like not love. I wonder if I should have said I loved her. It seems awkward now, he thought. Keita was smiling at him, she had her face all red. She stood up and smiled at him sweetly. Katsu, screw you. She punches him and he goes flying. He yells while he flew. Naruto opened the door to his house to be greeted by Haku bowing at his feet. Master, I'm sorry for the delay, but I am ready for your orders now. Naruto groaned. It's okay, Haku. No, it isn't, and you shouldn't call me that, I'm not worthy. Just call me slave, she said and looked up at him with puppy eyes. Okay, slave, he said, giving up. Since I'm late you should punish slave for being late, she said and bent over. Would you like to spank me? Or maybe use my body for your pleasure? She said. No, he shouted at her. I'm sorry, I'm too ugly for you. She said. No, that's not it either. You're beautiful, girl, and I would love to, but I wouldn't want to order you to do it with me but of your own will. My own will? She asked. Yes, Haku-chan. He heard Kyuubi call. She tackled her and started to grope Haku. Q-chan, Naruto said. She just wiggled her ass at him. You know what I want, Naruto-kun. And if you don't give it to me, I'll keep on teasing poor Haku here. She said. Naruto nodded and went and grabbed a condom and took off Kyuubi's underwear in his pants and thrust it into her. He pumped into her faster and faster. She groped Haku the entire time, kneading her breasts. She locked lips with her, then moved her lips down to her neck as Naruto thrusted. Naruto, she said as she came. Naruto still thrusted into her much to the Kyuubi's delight. She then opened Haku's kimono and started to suckle her nipples. You taste good, she said, started to nibble on them. Naruto then took himself out and came on her ass. She rolled off Haku, who covered herself up embarrassed. Sorry Haku-chan, he said, truly sorry. It's okay, I didn't expect that, I've never been groped before. She said. I'm sorry too, I just get this longing for him inside me. Kyuubi said. It's alright, she said. It also felt really good, she said, and Kyuubi smiled at her. Then something they didn't expect happened. Katsu smashed through the roof and landed on the ground. Pissed off Keita, I take it, Kyuubi said. In some way, he groaned. The next day, Naruto got up and headed to the training ground. While he was going there through the woods, he was tackled. He looked up to see one Hana Inuzuka above him. She licked her lips and unzipped his pants, eyes widening at the size of him. He looks at her wondering what was going on, but she just tore off her pants and underwear and slammed herself on him, crying in pain that she did so. He could see the blood coming from her and could tell it was her first time. She slowly moved her hips up and down, enjoying the feeling. She moved them faster and faster. Naruto started to help by thrusting upwards, matching her pace. She wanted his essence in her. She climaxed as did her, and he filled her up to the brim, his cum flowing into her womb. She whimpered as his slid out of her and the cum started to pour out. She got a dildo out of nowhere and shoved it in, keeping it in. After a while she seemed to regain her senses and realized what she did. I'm sorry, I was in the heat like all female Inuzuka virgins. But after having your rod in you I feel much better, and I don't think I could have another in its place. She smiled at him. My mouth, breasts, legs and ass are now yours. What? You heard me. As long as you make me feel good you can me any way you want. She said. Just make it long and hard. Okay. She smiled and got off him and frowned at his ripped pants. She sewed them quickly into a ragged skirt and frowned at it, but yelped when Naruto kissed her and groped her ass. I like it, shows off your legs. Yes, I guess it does. When Hana got home her mother smiled at her. Looks like my little girl has finally lost her virginity. She smiled. How was it? Was it good? How big? She asked, then a smirk came across her face. Did he do it inside? Then he sees some of it leaking down her leg. I already see the answer to that. Well, it was great, and yes. For the length 9 inches. She said, then blushed. And he pumped about a gallon in me. Oh, I'm going to be grandma. Soon said. Ka-san, she said with a blush, but she couldn't get this weird feeling she might be right. So who was the guy? She said. I'm not telling. She huffed. Fine. Naruto after some training then went to go and look for Yugito so he could shut the Kyuubi up. He found her in the woods training. But she was taking a break and was doing something he found great. She was masturbating, rubbing her lips while she had a couple of fingers in her ass. Naruto-kun, she said in ecstasy. He snuck up on her and undid his pants. She was on her hands and knees and felt great. She removed the fingers from her ass and sucked on them. He then surprised her when his started to probe her anus. Who's there? It's me, Yugito-chan, he said and smirked as he pushed in. Naruto, she said as he entered her, forcing her climax. You're so tight, you know that. Just my ass already, she said, and he started to thrust his hips in her, rapidly pounding her tight hole. He grabbed her breasts and started to knead them and then sucked on her neck. She moaned out loud and he then shot his first load into her ass, pulled out and spinned her around to her back and thrust it in her. Oh Kami, Naruto, she screamed. He pumped in her. He noticed she didn't have her hymen and assumed training, but when she flinched every so often he realized it probably wasn't. He thrusted into one more time and unloaded in her. Then he took himself out and grabbed her legs and thrust in between her thighs. Oh God, she said, and he came on her face. Now finally done, she whimpered as he let her down. That felt so good, she purred. Why did you flinch when I thrusted? Naruto asked. Sorrow went over her face. I contained the Nibi. I know I contained the Kyuubi still. Why? I was raped back in my village by a bunch of men. The only thing they didn't touch was my ass and legs, so when it comes to I have a bit of a fetish there," she said. Then he kissed her. "I'm sorry, I had no idea," he said. "It's okay, but still I feel bad about it." "Well, another round of anal should clear that up," she yelped when he slowly thrust it into her ass and continued to talk like it was nothing. "I hope you like me more than just something to masturbate about," he said. "I do. But Nibi been bugging me to mate with you for some reason." Kyuubi said the two were once mated themselves. He said. "Well, that explains a lot," Yugito said as she started to breath hard nearing her climax. "Well, I hope they like each other," he said, and with a final thrust erupted in her and she climaxed, her ass milking him and convulsing around his member. He slipped out and cum started to slowly pour out before her ass clamped shut. "I have a feeling they will," she said and passed out. "I need to train," Naruto said. Chapter 5, A New Sensei and a Nice Punishment. Naruto was going to do some serious training and he thought he could get one of the Jonin to help him. He knew that none of the others would be a lot of help, except one now that he thought of it. She was a ninjutsu specialist like him, plus she knew a lot of jutsu, so if she got him to agree then it would be helpful for him, so he went to find her. Uchiha compound. He knocked on the door hoping since her son didn't make it as a genin. Just the person he was looking for answered the door. Makoto Uchiha, a woman that had beautiful long black hair, onyx eyes and fair skin. She was wearing an apron and a black shirt and long brown skirt. "Oh hello, are you one of Sasuke's friends?" she asked in a motherly voice. No, not really, I was wondering if you could train me for the Chunin exams," he asked, which surprised her. She wasn't sure about it. Her son always asked her to train him and every time she told him no, but there was something about this blonde that made her not able to say no. "What could it hurt? Besides, I could use a little since I haven't had in a while." "Wait, what?" "No, he's a kid, he won't be able to satisfy me. Hell, the only pleasure I ever got was from my own fingers and Shina-chan's tongue." "But still, stop thinking about." She was blushing now and her lust was fighting for control. "Okay, I will train you, so come in," she said. "Thanks," he said. "But you will have to something for me in return," her lust said, gaining a little control. When Naruto heard the eagerness in her voice in the sense he couldn't help but stiffen. "What am I saying?" she thought, but then saw his erection, which is what sent her overboard. "I will be right back, Naruto," she said and went to her room and changed into something that was a bit more of a turn-on. When she came back out she was in a schoolgirl outfit with white knee socks, a blue skirt and a white button-up shirt. Naruto's mouth hit the ground. "Now for that favor," she said and went down on her knees and rubbed his erection. He was huge, bigger than her bastard of a husband which practically raped her for children. She needed to be pleased and now. She unzipped his pants and it sprung out, surprising her with its size. She wondered if it would fit into her without breaking her in half. She shook her head, got up and pushed the hem of her white panties to the side and sat down on him, a loud moan coming from her as she did. She then bounced up and down on his monster of a cock. She was in complete bliss. She never felt this much pleasure from it was with her Shina-chan when they were younger. She climaxed up, her hips kept moving, wanting more. "Wow, Makoto-chan, you're quite the MILF, aren't you?" he said and unbuttoned some of her shirt so her breast bounced out and he started to fondle and grope them. "Naruto-kun, don't grope them. It's too embarrassing," she said to him. "You are the one who is bouncing on my lap shamelessly," he said back, making her blush. "They are moving on their own," she said but moaned the last part as she climaxed again. She then hears footsteps and the door opens. "Ka-san, have you seen my bee?" It was Sasuke and he saw his mother having with Naruto. He promptly fainted. "Sasuke." Makoto grabbed Naruto's head as he said this and kissed him. "Focus on me, I can tell you're close," she said. "Come inside me," she said, another one of her own coming. "Makoto-chan," he said and came. "Naruto-kun," she said and came with him. She laid out exhausted. Naruto looked at Sasuke and did the smart thing, cleaned up and then got out of there. When said person woke up he saw his mother in her normal clothes and at the table reading a book. Mom," he said. "Yes sweetheart," she said. "Not. Did you just what?" she asked, looking at him. "Nothing," he said and got up and walked out of his house. "Naruto-kun, I hope we can play soon again." Street in Konoha. Naruto exhaled a deep breath. He was glad that he was out of there. If Sasuke woke up then he would have been screwed. He sighs and looks around, and right next him on the street was a certain girl in rags with a sigh that said, "Blowjobs 50 Ryo." His mouth hit the ground as he saw it was a girl from his class. He struggled to remember her name. Then he got it was Fuki, one of Sakura's old bullies and a fangirl. She caught him staring at her. "For you it's free, as punishment for being mean to you, Naruto-san," she said, and his jaw dropped and she dragged him into an alley and unzipped his pants. "Why are you doing this? Selling your body like this? Since I'm not a ninja, my family disowned me, I'm doing it to survive," she said, and licked it from base to tip, causing him to grunt. "You don't have to do this, you could get a job. As I recalled, I'm doing a job right now even though it blows," she said, and looked up at him, who just stared at her. "It was a joke," she said, and then took his head into her mouth. She bobbed her head up and down. "Fuki-chan," he said, and came in her mouth. She detached it and swallowed it. She looked at him and wiped her mouth, exited the alley and sat back out at the entrance of it with the sign. He couldn't stand to watch it. He grabbed her hand and dragged her away. "How many of those have you done?" he asked. "One, including you," she said. "Anything else?" he asked. "No, I'm not letting you do this to yourself," he said, and brought her to the only place he could think of, his sensei's house. He knocked on the door frantically. Kurenai opened the door and stared at him. He looks up and smiles at him, praying she forgave him. "Hey Kurenai, can I come in?" he asked her. "Yeah," she said, and the two walked in. She led them through the living room, the two of them not noticing Anko tied up hanging from the ceiling with a gag in her mouth and 3 egg vibrators each in her ass and, whimpering. Once they got to the dining room, she sat down and asked him, "What is it you need? I'm kinda in the middle of something." "Well, can you take care of a friend of mine? She doesn't have anywhere to go and I don't like what she was doing on the street." "Which was what?" Offering her body for money." Kurenai looked at the girl and was shocked, and the girl merely pouted. "Not my body, just my mouth," she said. "Of course she can stay, but you will have to help me punish someone first though." He nodded, not knowing what she meant. "Okay, follow me." She led him into the living room. He now noticed Anko. Basically, she thought, "I loved you and tried to have with a guy before I caught her, so she needs to be punished. She probably enjoy most things you could come up with, but she never had anal, so pump in her some and come and leave her unstated," Kurenai said, and walked out of the room. Naruto knew this was for the good of Fuki, so he took off his pants and saw Anko whimper when he lined up to her. He thrust it in and she screamed, but it was muffled by the gag. He pounded in her and didn't hold back. She started to squeal in pain and he was about to stop when he heard Kurenai's voice. "Don't stop if it causes her pain, she does it to me all the time," she yelled at him. He continued to thrust and started to use chakra-powered thrusts. He then came in her and pulled out. She whimpered as she was on the edge. "Maybe if you talk to Kurenai-sensei we can satisfy you properly. Oh, and for the record, my girlfriend transformed into Kurenai to buy some condoms," he told her, and her eyes widened. "See you later." "Okay, it's done Kurenai, take care of her," he said, and left, leaving one snake mistress wanting more. Chapter 6, The Fox, the Hyuga and the Little Sister. Naruto went to go and find Hinata. He was concerned for her since that of a cousin beat her bloody. So he was going to see her in the hospital. Because of the workers not liking him, he snuck in the window. He saw Hinata in question sleeping in her bed. She looked so cute with a light blush on her face. "Naruto-kun," she murmured, in her sleep. "She dreaming about me. Hinata is dreaming about me. Innocent Hinata, wait, what girl isn't dreaming about me recently?" he thought. He moved to kiss her forehead, but her eyes fluttered open and saw him. Luckily she didn't faint. Mostly because she was in dreamland still, she moved her face and her lips met his, surprising him. They shared the kiss for a while before breaking the kiss. "Naruto-kun," she said, and wrapped her arms around him. "Please make me feel loved," she said to him. She had forgot completely about one little detail at that moment, even though she can see it. But they ignored it for the time. "Are you sure, Hinata? I mean, are you aware you're awake?" he said to her, and she nodded. "All right then," he said, and kissed her. It was more heated than the last one but still full of love. "Naruto-kun," she said as he moved his mouth down to her neck and sucked and nibbled on it. After a little of this he gave her several hickeys and then undid her hospital gown and trailed down her chest, pausing at her collarbone to nibble across it before continue his way down, the whole time making Hinata moan and gasp, as well as giving a certain detail some entertainment. He then went to her nibbles of her early developed chest and started to nibble and suck on them. He started with the right one and when it was raw moved on to the other giving it the same treatment. He moved from the breasts down her stomach, then when he reached her slit it was soaking wet, but he decided to tease her some. He started to nibble and suck on various places on her inner thighs, showering her inner thighs in hickeys. "Naruto-kun, stop teasing me," she gasped. He then moved his mouth up and licked her slit. This caused her to yelp in surprise. He took that as a sign to continue and started to move his tongue into her folds. She started to breath hard. He then got bold and delved his tongue into her, making her scream in pleasure and climax. He then moved up and kissed her. She could taste herself on his lips. "Be quiet or people will hear. We know one detail heard. Put it in, I don't care if the whole village hears me make love to you, Naruto-kun," she said, and he nodded and then took off the rest of his clothes. She gasped seeing his size, then looked at him. "Be gentle or you will break me," she said, which made him chuckle. He rubbed it at her entrance and then slowly pushed in. When he reached her barrier he stopped. "Are you sure this is your last chance?" "Yes, Naruto, put it all in," she said. He nodded and with a thrust his monster was fully in her and practically shredded her barrier. She winced and looked at him. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yes, just stay still for a little bit, you're big, let me get used to it." After a few minutes she moved her hips down, signaling for him to move. He pulled out slowly and then thrust back in. He first did it slowly but started to quicken his pace when she stopped wincing and started to gasp and moan from pleasure. She moved her hips down, matching his pace, increasing the pleasure they got. "Naruto, I'm gonna." "Me too, let's do it together." It just took one deep thrust and they came together. Hinata was filled up with Naruto's essence. "Naruto-kun, I love you. I have since the academy days," she said to him. "I love you too, Hinata." She then kisses him softly, and when they broke apart and looked past him and a smirk appeared on her face. The detail saw Hinata staring. "Oh, I forgot you were in here, Hanabi," Hinata said. Naruto turns around and sees a bright red Hyuga heiress. She had a hand down her pants and was breathing hard. "Naruto-kun," was all she said. Hinata smiled and looked at him. "This would make father mad if he found you took both of our virginities in one night, let's do it him." He nodded as he was there as soon as she mentioned it. Hanabi in question when they turned back was already on the bed naked. "Naruto-san, I want you inside me, I want you to fill me up to the brim," she declared. He just smirked, then she yelped as her face was now near her sister's slit and Naruto was lining himself up to her sobbing hole. Hinata looked down at her sister. "Do me a favor and eat me out, like a obedient Hyuga should," she said, and her sister started to lick her. Then Naruto thrusted in her and she yelped as her was all the way in her in one go. She could feel he was in her womb. "Naruto-san," she said and smiled, loving the mix of pain and pleasure as he pumped in her. Then Hinata grabbed her sister's head and pushed it in her slit. The three were like that for a while and Naruto thrusted in rapidly. He was close already and by the look of the sisters so were they. "Naruto-kun-san," they said, and the three climaxed. They fall on the bed and covered themselves and he wraps his arms around the two. "I love that pain, I'm a masochist, aren't I?" Hanabi said before they fell asleep. The next day, Hinata and Hanabi's mother went into the hospital getting Hanabi, who had stayed with her sister overnight, for the clan meeting. When she entered the room she was surprised at the sight of Hanabi riding a boy with her sister sucking on her nipples. She promptly fainted. That same morning, earlier. Damn it, I just got a review with a really good idea for this. I'll do this, I'll toss a coin to see which I go with and it's this one. Well, to make the other feel better, and since my poll I had turned with Harem FIC anyway, I'll do the first chapter in that with that idea. Sorry Dark Knight, but you can either choose for a FIC or a one shot for it, okay? I really hate not being able to listen to good ideas. Hinata had a great dream the other night about Naruto. She remembered all the sensations in great detail. Her eye drifted open and she yelped and saw Naruto next to her. She then saw Hanabi on the other side of him. But to make it worse, they were all naked and covered by just a thin sheet. "Naruto-kun," she yelped, then felt something running down her leg and looked to see it was some of his cum. She stuttered. She looked to see where it was coming from and nearly fainted seeing the pool of it by her slit. He looks back to him and the pieces came together. They actually had the other night and it wasn't a dream. She nearly fainted at that thought alone, but then saw Naruto's morning erection sticking out uncovered. That sent her over the edge and she fainted. But unluckily for her and luckily for Naruto, her mouth was open and she fainted, and the once-in-million lifetimes thing happened. Her mouth landed right on his and slid in, so she was deep-throating him to the base. Her eyes snapped open and Naruto moaned in his sleep. Hinata panicked but then relaxed her throat muscles and eased it out to the tip, sucking the entire time. When she was at the head, she found that she loved the sensation of having it in her throat and went back down till she was at his base again and just let it sit there for a moment, enjoying the feel of it. She then moved her head back up and down once more and he then came down her throat. She brought her head up and coughed a bit. Then felt a hand on her head caressing the back of it. She looks to see Naruto awake. Now that is a wake up. He smiled at her and she blushed heavily. Naruto, did we really, last night, have? She asked shyly, which had Naruto's member spring back up considering what she just did. Yeah, he said. Naruto, I thought that was all a dream and I wanted to tell you even though I thought it was a dream, I meant what I said, I love you. She said. Me too, Hinata. He then looks at Hanabi. How about we wake up Hanabi? He asked. She nodded with a blush and picked up Hanabi and placed her down on Naruto's hard pole and she sank all the way down to the base, waking her up. Naruto-san, she yelped as she moved up and down. Hinata then climbed up on him and started to kiss her sister while she bounced up and down. She then moved down and showed her neck in several hickeys. Hanabi, you taste good, she said and moved down to her nipples. She started to suck and nibbled on them till they were raw like Naruto did to hers the other night. Then they all heard the door open and someone hit the ground. They looked to the door and the girls see their mother, and then Hanabi went down once more, climaxing. They clean up and Hanabi got her clothes back on and sat in a chair acting normal. Hinata got her gown back on and fell to sleep, and Naruto left praying Hiashi didn't find out what happened. Chapter 7, The Fox Contract. Naruto was on the way to his house. It got to the door but was then tackled by a blur. He was now on the ground and looked up, so see Anko smirking and grinding into him. Well, hello there, stud, she said and grinded more. Huh, where's Kurenai? He asked her and she just smiled sadistically. Oh, she's back at her house with a gag in her mouth and a really big dildo up her slit with writing all of her in her own blood saying, "This whore and slut is property of Anko. Got to get her back for having you my." She smiled sweetly at him and traced his chest with a finger. You know, if you kept going in my a little longer I would have came. You made me crave your pull in my since then. She smiled sweetly then. Anko. Just my nice and slow until I climax and I'll be on my way. She said. Then he noticed something. Anko had her normal outfit on besides her bodysuit. Let's at least take this inside, he said and she sighed. Fine. She gave up and went inside, dropped her trench coat and sat on the couch and Naruto sat next to her. She then unzipped his pants and sat her down on his hard pole. She started to move up and down slowly on it, gasping and softly moaning as she did so. Yaki, your thick pole is in my, it feels so good. I want more, move your hips with mine, when I move down you thrust up, she said, drool coming out of her mouth. He did so and she moaned loudly. She closed her eyes as she climaxed but her hips kept moving. Well, looks like someone is trying to move in one, my man, looks like little Anko needs to be punished. She opened her eyes and saw Kyuubi. But what was surprising was that she was naked and had a huge strap on. She moved onto her and thrusted in her, she pumped in and out rapidly. Naruto-kun, move fast, let us show her what happens to naughty girls like her. He nods and grabs Anko's hips and started to move her quickly up and down. Yaki, she screamed as her second climax rocketed through her body. She was then put into doggy style with Kyuubi underneath her thrusting in and sucking on her breasts. Naruto pounded away in her and then came into her and continued pivoting in and out. Naruto, in between us now, Kyuubi said and took the strap on off. Naruto then moved his pole between them and started to thrust in between them. You two are so, he said as he went in between him. Good, yes, harder, Kyuubi said. Then the three climaxed, Naruto coming all over their chests. That was great, the two girls said in unison. They then wrap their arms around each other and fall into blissful sleep. Naruto then gets up, cleans himself and leaves to go to the hot springs and then train with Makoto-chan or have one of the two. Hot springs. Naruto once he got there saw some old man peeking in at the girls and suddenly got really pissed. He walked over and proceeded to beat the crap out of him. You, sick, pervert, he said as he beat him. Pervert, He hears the girls from the other side run out screaming. Well, I see, you have met the almighty Toad Sage. Jiraiya shouted and summoned a toad he was on top of. Your point being? Naruto asked. Don't you want me to train you or something? He asked. No, I already have an awesome teacher. He said. What, but I am one of the strongest in the village. And 3 of the strongest of their times all died with one halfway there right now. You do see the Hokage carved into the wall, right? Ah, well, I'm going to go train. I don't want to show his abilities, so I will skip the training part. Naruto walked into his house, and saw that Anko was gone and Kyuubi was sitting on the couch cross-legged with a big scroll on her lap. Hello, Q-chan, he said, and she smiled at him. Naruto, I have something for you, to help with the Chunin exams. She looked at the scroll and patted it. Huh, this is the scroll contract of the foxes, only the head fox or elder is allowed to let anyone sign it. Also you would be the first. Wait, so you are the head fox? Well, actually I am the elder, so I can actually allow you to become the sage of foxes, but you will have to be my mate for that, and it requires a test, which you might die from. She said. What's your mate? We are bonded forever, when you die you are resurrected in 9 years like me. She said. Also we would be bonded if you die, so do I, but we will be reborn together, also it will prove our love is eternal. She said. Well, I'll take it. Huh, you could die, idiot. She shouted at him. So we will be bonded together if I pass, and we will always be together, so, as long as that happens I'm happy. He then kissed her. Okay, take my hand. He nods and takes her hand, then some gold chakra surrounds it. Then a mark formed on their hands. It had 2 foxes around their forearms and writing that said on Kyuubi's arm Naruto Uzumaki and on Naruto's Kyuubi no Kitsune. A smile formed on her face and she looked at him and kissed him. It worked, we are bonded. And you truly love me. She said. Of course you doubted. At times, yes. He gives her a look. It was only when you were really rough on me. I thought you liked it rough. I do. But sometimes I like it slow and love-filled. She said. Let me guess, you won't tell me when you want it like that. I have a representative. She pouted. Just sign the contract. Fine. He said. And signed the contract. Okay, now summon one of us. Summoning jutsu. He said, and in a poof of smoke was a black fox. Not bad, but why her? What was on your mind? She asked, glaring at him. What? Then in a puff smoke the fox disappeared, and in its place was a girl with shoulder-length black hair and black fox ears on her head and a black fox tail, completely naked. With B-cup, and emerald green eyes. So you wish me to service you? She asked. Naruto turned to Kyuubi. The black fur shows that they are, for lack of a better word, easy. She said, and looked to see the girl approach her. Hitomi, you are too young for that, and why is your fur black? The girl's eyes widened. Mistress Kyuubi, I didn't mean, I wasn't. Didn't I say before I left not to be like your sister? Yes, but, you were gone and I saw no harm in taking a taste of it. I may be gone, but my word is still law. She looked down at her. Yes, but I am already here, so. She then was by Naruto and unzipped his pants and took it out and started to stroke it. She looked at Kyuubi and smirked. So you have a mate, huh? She asked, and Kyuubi nodded, glaring at Hitomi. Yes, and I believe you met him, right, Naruto? Oh, shit. She then went back and bowed down to the Kyuubi. I am sorry, mistress, I had no idea. It's just when you left I was lost, and I know, I won't let you go back there though. She said. You won't. No, you are still my favorite. She said. Then Hitomi smiled, and Naruto was surprised when her fur changed from black to orange. Mistress. She said. It's okay, but I have one order: whenever Naruto summons you, help him out with your skills. Usually it will be a battle. Yes. Then Naruto sighed and sat on the couch. It was going to be a long month. Chapter 8. The Mate Mark. Naruto was in the stadium surrounded by crowds. With him were the other finalists: Gaara, Temari, Yugito, Shino, Katsu, Shika, Neji, Kankuro. Alright, first match is Neji vs Naruto. Genma called out. Well, this should be easy. Once a failure, always a failure. He said to Naruto, and Naruto just shrugged. Everyone else went up to watch, leaving them there. Alright, begin. You will never be me, failure, you are we. He was cut off as he was punched and went into the wall. I think you will find that I am anything but weak. Naruto said. What the? Naruto then went through a flurry of hand signs. Wind style. Cyclone blades. He charged with wind circulating around his arms. Oh shit. All Neji could do was dodge. With one jutsu he turned the tables completely. Now Neji would have to use his weak point of attacking at a distance to deal any damage. He threw a few kunai at him which landed straight in his chest, but he popped into smoke, a shadow clone. Behind you, he shouted and dealt a kick to Neji. He then took 3 kunai and tossed them towards Neji. He dodged them, but then in a puff of smoke 3 clones were in the kunai's place. Take this Neji. They shout and go through hand signs. Wind style, great breakthrough. One said and sent it towards him, another tossed a kunai into the wind. Release, fire. The kunai had on a tag on it that enveloped into fire then lit the wind jutsu alight. Neji barely dodged it. Wait, where's the third? He shouted and on cue it appeared above him. Water style, sea serpent jutsu. He shouted and a water serpent appeared out of thin air and crashed down upon him. The clones then popped out of existence. He charges in with a fist and then punches Neji. Time to finish it. He makes a clone and they charge at him. The clone then jumps on his back and jumps up in the air. Wind style, twin cyclone. He shouts and 2 cyclones appear in front of the clone and are sent at Neji. He jumps out of the way when it crashes down. Then Naruto saw Neji heading towards him and grabs his neck and slams him into the ground. That is for Hinata, he said before Neji slipped unconscious. The crowd was silent for a few moments before it burst into cheers. Naruto smiled and walked into the stands. That was it for them to promote him. Unsurprisingly, Katsu destroyed Kankuro and they ended up in the finals together and just smiled at each other. What you say? He asked Naruto. I say we level the stadium if we go full force. True, but it would be fun. Yes, it would. The share a knowing smile, then together they. I give up. They say together. The crowd was silent but then booed at them. Well, so much for that, huh? Yeah, let's go. Later, Sasuke was walking in the street being harassed by Ino and Sakura again. He had enough of it. The swings around and shuts at them. Shut up. You are both weak and useless. I would need a strong girlfriend, not some weaklings. I don't care for either of you whores. He shouted at them. Both of them were crushed. They felt horrible. They leave him alone and sulk off. They then later spot Naruto. He sees them and shouts at them. Ino-chan, Sakura. He says then runs up to them. Oh, hey there Naruto. Ino says sadly. Did you hear? He shouted. What? She asks him hoping it will brighten her day. I became a chunin. He says smiling. That's great Naruto. Ino says putting on a smile that Naruto saw through. Yeah, but what's wrong, you seem sad. He said worrying about the girls. Nothing. Sakura said. Actually, there is something. We saw Sasuke in public and tried to ask him out, but he said no and called us weak. Ino said. She looked up to Naruto's caring blue eyes. She then noticed how good he actually looked, much better than Sasuke. She felt her body start to get hot, as did Sakura. What's wrong? He asks at the blush on their faces. Nothing, nothing at all. They said and hurried away. That was weird. Well, I best go and train with Makoto-sensei. He said and walked off. Uchiha compound. Naruto got to the door but it was opened at the same time and he saw Makoto there, in just an apron. Hello there Naruto-kun, time for some fun. She said lustfully. He jumps right in and on top of her, shutting the door behind him. He starts to kiss her neck and she moaned out. You should mark her, the Kyuubi said. What? Bite her neck and send chakra into it. This will make a mate mark kind like the one we have, but it will give her access to some of my chakra stored in the mark. Kinda like the curse seal. She will be able to transform, but instead of a monster she will look like me. You know, fox tail and ears. That's cool. Naruto said to her. It is but one more thing, she can transform up to 9 tails like me, but not as powerful of course. This just gives her more chakra that is more potent. And it gives more than 1 tail too. Shouldn't I ask her first? Of course. Naruto stopped kissing her and looked into Makoto's onyx eyes. Why did you stop? She whined. Do you want me to mark you? She raised an eyebrow. I can mark you so you can have more power and chakra. Also you will be able to transform. All this does is give you fox tail and ears on the top of your head. He told her. She thought about it. Fox tail and ears. That's kinda hot, and it gives me more chakra. She chewed on her thumb thinking more. Okay, you can do that. One more thing though. She blushed at this. Can it also make me younger? She asked him. It can, that's actually one of the side effects. Kyuubi said. You could have said before. Yeah, it can. He told her. Do it then. She told him. He then bit down on her neck much to Makoto's delight and sent some of his FemKyuubi's chakra into her. She moaned out as a orgasm shook her body. Naruto. She shouted. Then she seemed to have an red aura around her. In a flash of red there then was a girl his age underneath him with black hair, onyx eyes and an early developed chest. Naruto. She shouts at him in her now younger voice. I didn't mean this young. She glares at him and slides from out under him. She crosses her arms and huffs. I'm sorry, I didn't think it'd make you my age. Yeah well. She shouted at him and glared. You could have told me you didn't know how young I'd be. He shouts at him. I'm sorry. He says and she glares at him. You know I was hoping for anal today too. But if you put that monster in my hole it will shred me. She glared at him and he noticed red chakra coming from the mark. FemKyuubi. The chakra the focuses around her head and ass, and forms a fox tail and fox ears. Okay that's hot. Naruto said and Makoto noticed what she looked like now and blushed. We aren't having today, she told him, but chose the worst moment as Sasuke opened the door and looked at the strange sight. Sasuke glared at Naruto. What did you do to Ka-san? Sasuke shouted. Clam down. No, I will not. You turned my mother into a fox Sasuke clutched his gut and ran to the bathroom. What was that? Oh nothing, it's Sasu-chan's time of the month so she's a bit bitchy. Wait what? Sasuke, is actually Sasuke. She said. What? She smiles at him and nods. Oh goody. Chapter 9, Slaves for Naruto. Sasuke was sitting on the couch looking at them with a blush. I'm a girl, she said meekly. Figured that out already. Naruto said. Shut up, she said blushing. So all the times you were extra mean you were just on her period. Makoto said. Ka-san. What it's true. So you like the boy he's gonna see down there sometime. She teased. I don't like him. Really? Then the Naruto Uzumaki underwear you ordered from the wave isn't a sign that you like him. She asked. Ka-san. Makoto laughed aloud. You are wearing them right now aren't you? She asked and Sasuke then held her head down in defeat. I know, how about you find a way to make up to Naruto on all them times you were mean to him? She said. What? I'm sure he could do with a blowjob or the like. She said making her daughter blush. I'll go find my fangirls. She said and ran out of the house. Naruto then got up and left. He went to go train a little. When he got to training field 7 he saw a woman with purple hair there, and she was masturbating. Yes, harder. She screamed as she fingered herself. You like it hard huh? He said and she jumps up despite having no pants on and near orgasm. You are Naruto. What are you doing here? She said blushing. This is my team's training ground. He said. What are you doing here? Well I was. Touching yourself? He asked. Why yes. She said embarrassed. Well, I could always help you with that. Her eyes widen at that. What? No Hayate is dead. I heard he died on a mission. He told her. Yeah but, still, you have any fantasies I could help fulfill? He asked moving closer and she mumbled something. What was that? I said I always wanted to be in a gangbang. She said blushing. Will do. Then 3 shadow clones popped into existence. I never said I would. She was cut off as one of the clones kissed her and she melted into it. Naruto and the other 2 started to grope her body. They took off her shirt and threw over where her pants were. No bra? He asked pinching her nipples. It's laundry day, she said meekly. She then felt 2 dicks rubbing against her snatch. You aren't thinking, oh Kami. She screamed when she felt 2 dicks enter her slit at the same time. They started to pump into her. They bent her down and a clone rubbed his against her lips. She eagerly took it into her mouth. She then used her hand to start to jerk off the remaining clone. Naruto took his out of her snatch and moved to her ass and thrust it in, causing her to scream in pleasure. Oh yes. So you're an anal virgin huh? He asked her and she nodded and returned to sucking a clone's dick. They were getting close and nearing their end. We are gonna blow. Naruto said. She took her mouth off the clones for a moment and shouted, inside me. And she then returned to sucking away. They then all came in her and the 1 clone on her. This forced her own climax. They then let her on the ground. So good, I haven't had it like that in, ever. She said and looked at Naruto and his now softening dick. You give it to me like that and I'll let you me anywhere. He smiled at her. Okay I'll hold you to that. he said, and then helped her clean up and get dressed. He then headed back to his apartment. When he opened the door he sees Ino, Sakura and Sasuke. "We are here to serve you, master." They chorused together. Naruto was about to say something when he sees Haku and she said, "Oral only." The girls whine about it though. "Why oral only?" he asked her. "Because they need training so they don't put their own pleasure first before yours," she told him, and he nodded. "Okay then, Sasuke wind giving me a blowjob?" he asked, and she blushed, then nodded. He sat on the couch and looked to see Sasuke look at his monster of a with wide eyes. "It's even bigger than I dreamt," she said, and started to lick it from base to tip. She then put the head in her mouth and started to slowly take it into her mouth. It hit the back of her throat, so she angled her head so it started to move down it until it was resting in her throat. She just enjoyed the feeling of it there and started to lick the bottom of it while it was in her mouth. Then she started to slowly move her head back till only the head of his was in her mouth. She felt his hand grip the back of her head and slam his cock back down her throat. She moaned around his dick, then she put some chakra into her lungs so she could breathe while he thrusted his member in and out of her throat. "Sasuke-chan, you give as good blowjobs as Hinata," he said, and then he started to grunt fueled by the satisfied moans she gave out around him. "I'm gonna blow. Drink it all up," he commanded. "Yes, yes," she thought, and then felt his essence pouring down her throat into her stomach. "I'm gonna come," she thought, and then gushed out her juices. Naruto saw this and looked to Ino. "Ino-chan, clean up the mess Sasuke made please," he asked her, and she nodded understanding, but Sakura was clueless. She went over and started to lick Sasuke's juices from her legs and moved her mouth up and cleaned it from her slit too, which sent shudders through Sasuke's body from the feeling of Ino's tongue cleaning her scared place. After Ino was done, Sasuke collapsed on the ground from pleasure overload. She looked up to Naruto. "I think I have a fetish for having my body used," she told Naruto. "Well, we will do this plenty in the future then. Now for your orders. Sasuke, since you are so good at blowjobs, you will wake me up every morning with one." "Ino," Naruto looked over to Kyuubi, who was sitting on a chair the whole time fingering herself. "Ino, you will pleasure Kyu-chan whenever she needs it, such as now," he said. "Hi Naruto-kun," she said, and went over and surprised Kyuubi by starting to eat her out. "Finally Sakura, you will report to Ino every morning and night and confess to her that you are a whore, slut and inferior to her in every way, and then report to Haku, who will spank you 50 times at noon for a month as punishment for hitting me during the academy so much, which you will cry out, 'I'm a slut,' each time, or she will add 10 more. Then go to Ino afterwards and she will kiss you and then molest you to her content, and you are then to report to Kyu-chan for the rest of the day as her assistant," he told her. "Yes Naruto-sama, I will," she said, and when he told her of the spanking part she looked somewhat happy. "One more thing, are you a masochist?" he asked, and she winced. I am," she said, blushing. "Haku, make that 80 spankings then for 3 months. Haku nodded and a look of bliss crossed Sakura's face. Naruto smiled at them. This was gonna be great. On a fateful night, Naruto meets the Kyuubi face to face, but instead of hatred, love blooms. With her by his side, Naruto's path changes forever, and soon, powerful bonds begin to form, creating a harem unlike any other.